And so this idea of having a relationship with them is really important. The only way really to develop a relationship is to be with people. We can sit in front of you and talk to you until the cows come home, and that doesn't develop a relationship. And I can just tell you, I have been shoulder to shoulder with most, if not all of our employees, including our police force and our fire department. I have a great relationship with them, and that will continue. That will continue. That opens the door for them to feel free to talk to you about anything that they feel needs to be addressed at the city level. And I think it's important we recognize they keep your best interest in mind. When they come and talk to me, I can't hardly ever, if there's ever been a time that a city employees come with their own concern about what they want, I really don't recall that. They talk a lot about what we can do for the citizens and how we can do things a little bit better. I've been very impressed with that kind of an attitude. So again, I have that kind of relationship and will maintain that.
Thank you. Mr. Marshall?
If somebody asked me what my biggest weakness is coming to this candidacy, that's what it would be. It would be my relationship with the employees. I told you that I was retired, but after 3 years of retirement, Xerox asked me to come back to go to work for them. So I have a full-time job, and it takes me out of town. I go from the Utah border to Salmon as my territory, so I'm more familiar with my windshield than I am just about anything else. But I have had a chance to meet with quite a few of the employees, asking them about their concerns and the things that they want to see and what they want to do. And I've seen them in action. I've seen them in action when they didn't know that I was watching even. And I'm impressed. I'm impressed with the dedication, the hard work, and the loyalty that they have not only to the city of Chubbuck, but to the citizens. I've seen one worker go and, I mean, be as gentle and kind to an older lady who was having trouble with our flooding that we had just a while back. That's the kind of thing that we need to keep and maintain. I know the rumor is that I would come in here, become mayor, and fire everybody. And that's got to be the stupidest statement that I've ever heard in my entire life, and I've heard a lot of them. I think they're our greatest asset. We need to maintain them. We need to pay them correctly. We did get them a raise this year. We need to continue to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Brainerd?
As far as experiences I've had with the city employees, it's been mostly having the police come over to my house with my youngest son, which is never fun. However, they've always been very professional about it. They've had talks with them, and everything's been straightened out. We get along pretty well, but other than that, I'm going to work and I'm working in Blackfoot. I really don't interact very much with city employees, which is something that will change. You know, if I'm elected, obviously I have to work with the city employees. You have to build a relationship with these people, and just like Mr. England said here, the way you build relationships is by hanging out with people. I mean, you gotta be with them to build a relationship with them, and if you're not in the area, you're not around them, you can't build a relationship. So something I look forward to doing, and I've never had a problem with any city employees, and I guess that's about it. All right.
Thank you. This question will go first to Mr. Marshall. How do you plan to reinvigorate the mall? So ideas like bringing retail and restaurants like Target and Olive Garden, and to remove derelict buildings on Yellowstone.
Derelict. Okay, I'm not sure of the derelict buildings that we have. My whole vision for Chubbuck is to make it a very inviting community. As you come in, we've got the new Virgin Diamond coming in that's going to, enter you into this city. And there's new buildings, Knutson Center, everything. That's nice, and that's on this side. But I have heard that the mall is up for auction, and also the movie house. Hopefully somebody will come in with a vision that will manage the mall, and maybe manage it better than it has been. You have to have people with the boldness to go out and find the CEOs and talk to them and find out why they're not coming to us and wanting to put an Olive Garden or some of the other kind of shoppings that people want. That's what I do for a living. I go to the major companies and find out what their problems are, and my job is to create a solution and take care of that. And it's the same thing that I would do here. As much as I could be involved and travel, do whatever I needed to do a face-to-face with these people that want to come and find out why they won't. And then we need to solve those solutions and those problems that are keeping them away from us. We should be able to be as big and growing just as fast as anybody else in the way that the community allows us.
Thank you. Mr. Brainerd?
Well, I don't think it's the city government's job to go around picking buildings arbitrarily and saying, hey, this is a dilapidated building and smashing it down. Now, if the city owns that building, yeah, sure, and it's falling apart, yeah, let's get rid of it. But if someone owns the land and the building, then it's theirs to own. Now, if it doesn't meet the codes that we've got in town, then yeah, we can enforce the codes and make it, pick it up, beautify it. But we also don't go into the mall and tell them, oh, stop.
I'm sorry. Oh, that was an inaccurate card. You're back on.
Okay. No, that's all right. At least I could read it. That's pretty good. But I don't think it's our job to go into the mall and tell them how to run the mall. That's a private company, and they're running the mall how they run the mall, and if they're failing at it, then they're going to go out of business. And then someone else is going to take over, and they're going to do either a better job or they're going to do a worse job. So, but we don't need to go in there and bash it down and kick them out.
Thank you. Mr. England?
That really is a challenge, because we do want to be partners with any business that's here, and the mall can be a very vital Chubbuck community. But we are limited somewhat in what we can do in promoting that. There are the standard things that are being done to make sure that people know what's available out there, but also the other standard that's there is it's the economy. The economy right now won't let people do what they want to do. We can see a lot of wonderful development happening along Yellowstone right now. If you have lived in this community over the last 25 years, you'll recognize that those things are happening. They're happening more slowly than we'd like for them to, but it's the economy that's causing that. But that will continue to happen. We'll continue to see some great progressive things happen in our business community. And as a city government, we, again, need to partner, not full partner, but be a partner in helping to promote so that we can have good, healthy businesses. The businesses that do come here need to know that we will be supportive of them and that we want them and that we'll take care of them. That's a great way to start the process of trying to get other businesses to come to this community. So again, those things are underway, and I believe that they'll keep happening. Still, there are some concerns, and as you have concerns, come and express them. When there are things that we can do, we'll do them. And if there aren't things we can do, we'll come to an understanding of that.
Thank you. This question will go first to Mr. Brainerd. Is the event center going to happen in Chubbuck, and how do you view that for the city?
Well, they had the same thing in Pocatello a while ago. They're looking to build an event center. I don't think it should happen. That's just my opinion. I don't think there should be an event center here in Chubbuck. And we're just going to be competing with the fairgrounds up on the hill. We're going to be competing with the Holt Arena, that type of thing. It'd be tough to do it without raising taxes and funding it with taxpayer money, which I don't think is a good idea. I don't think we need to be raising taxes and doing levies, that type of thing to generate money to build something like the event center.
Thank you. Mr. England?
The auditorium district has a board. They're similar to the CDA board. They're appointed individuals who act separately from any government entity. They have determined, they were told that they had to have an event center or they could not collect the auditorium funds anymore from our hotels. And so for a number of years, they've been in the process of trying to develop their own event center. They couldn't just promote an existing one, they had to have their own. Well, they went into a great process to determine where that ought to be built, and the place over on Knutson was determined to be the only place that met all of the criteria. So at present, that is the place that is planned to be built. It's still not a done deal. It's pretty close, but it's not a done deal. I personally am very much in favor of that event center. It will bring in many, many businesses that will want to build around that kind of a thing. The other great blessing that that has is when we have events there, because of the way traffic will be able to get in and out of there now, and particularly with this new exchange that we'll have up and running, people will be able to be to the places they need to be within just a matter of minutes. It's a great place to have it built, but again, as the local governing body, the Chubbuck City Council, the Chubbuck Mayor, we don't have a lot to say there. Knutson owns that property, and the auditorium board is a whole separate board from us. The decision will be made there. But personally, I will support that and do everything I can to see that it happens and that it's successful.
Thank you. Mr. Marshall?
There's a lot of things that have to happen before we even see in the news that it's really going to be there. The county has to approve it, city, all kinds of things have to go through there. The thing that, I think there's room for an event center if they want to, but I don't see that land, I don't think see that as being the anchor, the big thing there. That might be a second thing that takes up the north side, but hopefully it would bring in more business. I would like to see that more of a business park with walkways, you know, taking the landscaping, the canals that go through there, making this a place that people want to come to. And the event center would work in fine. In fact, if you've got your hotels, we've talked about, you know, Olive Garden and so forth, you would be able to go there, there would be walkways, trees, benches, almost a park, business park type of a thing that's very inviting. We could have a lot of things there, splash parks, all kinds of things. I see that as a prime piece of property. But if we go just with that event center, that's not going to be a good tax base because that's all handled through the auditorium authority. So I'd like to see a little more input that we could do, but we also are tied by our hands of what we can do.
Thank you. This will go first to Mr. England. While encouraging the expansion of residential areas, what are your concerns regarding water, sewage, and infrastructure?
Those concerns are always there. I told you I learned more about water than I ever wanted to, but I'm glad that I know it. It's very important to a community. It's the lifeblood, very literally, and it's that taking care of your infrastructure is absolutely vital. You recognize that most of these things, water, sewer, when they go in a development, the developer is required to put those in. But once that happens, the development's done, it's deeded over to the city, and the city has the responsibility to take care of it. So again, having managed growth is really important, so that you know that the things that are happening are things that we can take care of. You also need to remember that when these developments happen, that brings a greater tax base to our community, and therefore there are more people paying those taxes, so we do have the capability of taking care of those new areas. But taking care of your infrastructure is really important, and it's very expensive. Most of it is below ground. It's things you and I don't see. And I'm so grateful there are people in place that understand how those things work, what it takes to keep them up and running. When they break down, they know how to go and get them fixed. If you think you're upset because you pay a little bit too much for water, it's not nearly as upset as you are when you turn the tap and nothing or sand comes out. And so again, this comes back to our city employees being very capable of taking care of those things for us. Very important that we take care of those things.
Thank you. Mr. Marshall?
I've only been on the council for 2 years. A lot of the infrastructure was already built and decisions made. We do have an infrastructure that is beyond what we have right now, so we have plenty of growth. My understanding is that that should be able to handle about 50,000 population. The problem that we had was that especially the Northwest Interceptor connector, that got a little out of control, I think. It was built when it was very prosperous and things were booming, and then that dropped. But once you're into that contract and your commitment, that $20 million is now on the backs of the citizens, and you see that in charges and fees and so forth. What we are trying to do is to lower that as fast as we can. I think if you look at your bill, each year you'll see that it's gone down. It was at 17, then 15, 13, 11. I don't have those figures exactly right, but it has dropped at least 3 times now. So my goal would be to try and drop that even faster, try and get that fee off of our utility bills. I mean, you hear it all the time. Well, it's only $8 more, it's only $12 more, it's only $15 more. Well, that adds up to the point that I'm paying probably 3 times what I did in Idaho Falls. And that needs to be controlled, and so does our growth.
Thank you. Mr. Brainerd?
I think this all leads towards we're going to need our own water supply here shortly. Well, maybe within 10 years, we're going to need our own water supply here in Chubbuck. We're going to need our own waste treatment plant. We're going to need all this stuff if we're going to remain a city instead of merging with Pocatello, as Mr. Marshall brought up earlier. These things are going to cost money, and we're going to have to expand the infrastructure. But I mean, you've got to manage the growth. And once you start bringing people in here, you can't just bring 50,000 people in here and throw them all over the place and cross your fingers and hope everything works out. So we do need to plan ahead and plan out subdivisions, and that's something we're going to have to work on, and we're going to have to think ahead a little bit. It's like playing a game of chess. You're going to have to think a couple moves ahead so you don't wind up getting stuck. All right, thank you.
Thank you. This question will go first to Mr. Marshall. How do you think Chubbuck can work cooperatively with Fort Hall and the Bannock Shoshone tribes, and how does Chubbuck benefit?
You know, it's interesting. When I took the territory back with Xerox, I was requested to come out and do a presentation to the Fort Hall Council. And they put me right in the center, and with my white hair, I felt very conspicuous there, and especially when they got up and started talking about a few of the things that they didn't like about the white man. And I thought at that time, you know, there is not a very cohesive situation. Now that's been about 1.5 years ago, and now they've started to build up. And I've had the opportunity probably 6-7 times now to go out there, see their new facility, their hotel, their restaurants, everything. They have completely changed what they do out there, and the relationship that we have now, I think, is 180 degrees of what it was. They want to be part of this community. We need to help them. They have great facilities out there. I've never had a bad meal. I mean, it's amazing. And we can use their facilities, and we can help their economy to grow, and they want to expand that to more. I've heard, you know, all kinds of things that they want to put out there, and it'll be in the future, but golf course, fun park, all kinds of things. I think we need to work with them and help them, because it just gives us more things as a destination here.
Thank you. Mr. Brainerd?
Anybody been out there, out to that event center? I went out there for an MMA fight a little while ago, and it was a good time. But yeah, they've got a golf course planned out there from what I hear. They've got all kinds of stuff. They got the RV park out there. It's they've got the casino out there. It's gonna wind up being quite the destination for our local community. And so yeah, definitely we need to work with them. We need to have a good relationship with them, so that both of our communities can benefit from what they've got out there and what we've got here. We need to I commute through Fort Hall every day. My car doesn't handle the interstate all that well, so I take the old highway up there to Blackfoot, and I've never had a problem going through there. Their roads are nice, everything's well taken care of, but I've never stopped and spoken with the tribal council, and maybe that's something I ought to do one day. So, but yeah, I definitely think we need to work together with them for the benefit of both of our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. And with Mr. England?
As I have mentioned, I grew up in this area. I've been out on the reservation many times doing a lot of different work and have good relationships with a lot of people out there, have good friendships out there. The relationship that these governing bodies have with each other sometimes is challenged. It really is. One of the things that makes that very difficult is we always need to remember that the tribe is a sovereign nation. We do not stand on equal ground with them when we go out to talk to them. They can tell us what they will and what they won't do, and that's just the way it is. And so it's really imperative that we are open to discussion with them and that we listen closely to their concerns. I also have had the experience of being on the reservation and hearing negative comments about how they're treated by the white man. And sometimes that needs to be very validated, and sometimes it needs to be questioned, but it needs to be done in a respectful manner. And my experience with that is when it's done, they're more than willing to talk to you about it. And absolutely true, over the last little while, those relationships really have developed into some wonderful things. And I think that needs to continue. We need to continue to develop the relationship with them, to let them know that we do respect who they are, that we respect what their vision is for where they're going, and present to them the vision of what we have for what we'd like to see happen, that they might be on board with us too. But that by far and away, I think that's one of the greatest challenging experiences in having that relationship that I talked about with all of the entities in this area. So it definitely deserves our attention.
Great, thank you. That was a good question to end this section of the evening with. We had the opportunity to hear from you on some serious issues, and I hope the audience was pleased with the variety. We'll now have 30-second closing remarks, starting with Mr. Brainerd and ending with Mr. Marshall.
Hey, just as we've all said before, thanks for having us here. Thanks for having me here. Get off work, get to come down here, sit in this nice chair, fancy office, with these fine gentlemen. It's a good time. I get to be on camera, and it's like the third time in my entire life I've done that, so that's kind of cool. Thanks for listening to me, and thanks for not throwing anything at me while I'm sitting up here. And I guess that's it. Hopefully there's a coffee maker in here somewhere. I can go get some coffee after this is over. All right, I'm done.
Thank you. Mr. England?
Well, again, thank you for having us, and I express gratitude to Craig and Brent for being here and for their serious answers to some very serious questions. It's time to move this community forward. We have an election next week. It's important that you get out and vote, and you talk to your friends and neighbors and family, anybody who you have influence with. Get them out to vote. It's imperative that we talk about our voting rights all the time. I think we need to talk about our voting obligations much more. I believe that I'm in a position to move this community forward, and I ask for your vote this coming Tuesday.
Thank you. Mr. Marshall?
Probably the greatest thing that I've learned from running this campaign this time is going out and meeting with the people and finding out, what their concerns are. And you know what I've learned out there? These are the things I wrote down from people's comments. They want the streets fixed. They want their utility bills to be lowered. They want controlled spending of their money. Better shopping and restaurants. A say in the decision of local government. Respected when I attend City Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. With that, we will end this session of the forum. We'll take a few minutes to let the candidates for City Council come up, if they could start making their way up here. Before we do anything else, please turn your phones to silence, and that'll help the candidates be able to have a fair shot at their answers. So come on forward, City Council candidates. Your name plates are